My beloved child, please stop scrolling for just a moment. Take a deep, trembling breath and allow your heavy, exhausted heart to completely settle into the profound stillness of this sacred moment. Let your anxious soul become quiet enough to actually hear what heaven is desperately trying to whisper to you through the deafening, painful silence that currently surrounds your life. There are powerful, life-altering words written entirely across the spiritual sky for you today, etched meticulously in the invisible breath of warrior angels, whispered gently through the aching night wind, and physically soaked into the bitter, agonizing tears of someone who still carries your name in the absolute deepest, most heavily guarded chamber of their breaking heart. I need you to listen to me with every fiber of your spiritual being, because it is almost over. The long, dark, suffocating night of your soul is finally approaching its divine expiration date. Someone you love so deeply, someone whose soul is permanently tethered to yours by an invisible, unbreakable spiritual cord, physically fell to their knees and violently cried last night. They wept in the suffocating darkness of the dimly lit room, their body shaking with a profound, unexplainable grief, because the crushing weight of their terrible decisions finally broke through their stubborn pride. They cried because their family, their inner circle, and the loud, interfering voices they foolishly trusted actively told them that you did not deserve to be in their life. They were forcefully, aggressively told that you were entirely unworthy of their love, unworthy of their commitment, and unworthy of the beautiful future you two had once so vividly dreamed about building together. You have been sitting in the heavy, suffocating aftermath of this separation, wondering if it was all a lie. You have felt entirely abandoned, discarded like a passing thought, left to wander in a cold, lonely wilderness of unanswered questions and profound betrayal. You have spent countless, agonizing nights staring blankly at the ceiling, tears burning your tired eyes, asking the universe why you were simply not enough for them to boldly stand up and fight for. You have wondered why they chose the cowardly comfort of silence over the courageous necessity of affection, why they chose a cold, unexplained absence over a sincere, healing apology, and why they chose to retreat into the shadows of their family's expectations rather than stepping into the brilliant, beautiful reunion that your pure love offered them. But God says to you today, with an overwhelming, protective urgency, their cowardly actions did not match the absolute, screaming truth of their inner heart. Their physical body may have walked away from you under the immense, crushing pressure of their toxic environment, but their soul absolutely refused to agree with that departure. Their spirit violently rejected the separation. And last night, their suppressed, agonizing tears finally reached the golden gates of heaven. They sat alone in the corner of a silent room, completely stripped of their ego, repeatedly whispering your name into the empty air as if they were desperately trying to summon the ghost of your past, as if they were foolishly trying to magically pull you back into their arms with absolutely nothing more than a broken prayer and an ocean of suffocating remorse. God has seen absolutely all of it. He has watched every single agonizing second of this incredibly unjust situation unfold behind the closed doors that you do not have physical access to. You must understand, my beautiful, resilient child, that you are not forgotten by the Creator of the universe. You are absolutely not a mistake, you are not an afterthought, and you are entirely, undeniably not disposable. Even right now, at this exact millisecond, powerful, high-ranking angels are actively gathering around the physical perimeter of your home, forming an impenetrable wall of blazing divine light to protect your fragile, grieving spirit. Even now, the spiritual winds in the unseen realm are beginning to violently shift direction because your entire life is about to undergo a massive, unprecedented divine rearrangement. You must permanently anchor this profound truth deep within your soul. The excruciating pain you are currently feeling, the crushing weight on your chest, the suffocating loneliness, the bone-deep ache, the paralyzing confusion. None of this is a permanent punishment. It is all the necessary, agonizing breaking of your outer shell that must happen right before the arrival of a generational blessing. You are currently being spiritually stretched, pulled beyond your perceived human limits, simply so that your soul can physically expand enough to hold the sheer, breathtaking magnitude of the miracle that is actively speeding toward your reality. The people who drastically, intentionally misunderstood your pure intentions will very soon be forced to speak your name again, but this time it will be with a heavy, undeniable reverence. The arrogant individuals who harshly judged you in their blinding ignorance, who sat around dinner tables and casually mocked your deep, unconditional love, will physically bow their heads in absolute awe when they are forced to witness the staggering, overwhelming favor that is about to be poured directly upon your life. And the very specific people who looked your beloved dead in the eyes and convincingly told them that you were entirely unworthy, the ones who planted the toxic, poisonous seeds of doubt in their mind, they will very soon be forced to eat their cruel, manipulative words in absolute, humiliating silence as the blinding truth is finally revealed in the perfect, unfiltered light of God's divine timing. You see, they desperately tried to convince your person that you were entirely too flawed, too emotionally unstable, too complex, and too complicated to build a peaceful life with. They aggressively manipulated your image, highlighting every tiny, human mistake you ever made while completely, conveniently ignoring the massive, incredibly rare, overflowing ocean of grace, patience, and loyalty you continuously offered. They completely forgot, in their shallow, worldly understanding of human connection, that true, God-ordained love was absolutely never, ever supposed to be easy or convenient. True love was always meant to be fiercely, unapologetically courageous. And oh, my child, how incredibly, breathtakingly courageous you have been in your love. You have continuously, selflessly given to them from an entirely empty cup, pouring out your last remaining drops of energy just to make sure they felt safe and understood. You stubbornly stayed planted by their side, offering them a safe haven, even when every single logical part of your brain and every wounded piece of your heart was screaming at you to run away and protect yourself. You have waited for them in the freezing cold, standing in the pouring rain of their indecision, far longer than anyone else in the world would have ever expected or advised you to. You loved them when they were absolutely unlovable. You held them together when they were falling apart, and in return, they allowed the toxic voices of their inner circle to convince them that you were the enemy. And precisely because of that profound, staggering injustice, heaven has officially taken notice. The supreme judge of the universe has slammed his gavel down in the courts of heaven. This prophetic message is your undeniable, physical proof that you are currently standing on the absolute verge of a massive, life-altering turnaround, a divine reversal so incredibly huge, so undeniably powerful, that it will permanently silence every single toxic, doubting voice that ever dared to speak against your name or question the purity of your heart. God is not only preparing to fully restore the exact love, peace, and time that was so cruelly stolen from you, but He's actively preparing to multiply it in ways that will leave you absolutely breathless. You honestly thought it was completely over. You thought the final chapter had been permanently written, the book forcefully slammed shut and placed on a dusty shelf to be forgotten forever. But heaven is screaming to you today, it is not over. It is only the end of the painful preparation. It is almost over, the agonizing pain, the crippling daily confusion, the endless waiting by the phone, the suffocating, unanswered questions that keep you awake at 3 a.m. You are actively, physically stepping into a magnificent new season right now. You are crossing the threshold into a golden era of your life where absolute, pristine clarity will reign heavily over the exhausting chaos of your past. A season where a profound, supernatural peace will permanently blanket your restless nights, and where divine justice will be so loud, so incredibly undeniable, that no one will be able to question who authored it. You are entirely safe in this transition. You are completely covered by divine grace. You are completely surrounded by a blinding, protective light. Even if the physical room you are sitting in right now feels incredibly dark, heavy, and suffocating, I promise you by the authority of the Almighty, absolutely nothing will go wrong with your destiny. Not when God is standing this incredibly close to your breaking heart. Not when your guardian angels are on high alert, swords drawn, fiercely watching over your every step. Not when your desperate, tear-soaked prayers have literally shaken the very foundations of the heavens. The person you love, the one who violently wept for you last night in the dark, did not cry because they magically stopped loving you and were mourning the loss of their feelings. They cried because they finally, brutally realized exactly how utterly powerless they rendered themselves when they surrendered their own minds to the manipulative control of others. They sat on the floor, clutching their chest, and desperately asked themselves out loud, "Why on earth is this happening? Why did I allow him to successfully make me believe such horrible, twisted lies about the one person my soul simply cannot stop loving?" You must understand the dark, psychological warfare that has been actively waged against your connection behind your back. A specific family member, or perhaps someone incredibly close to them who holds a position of high respect and influence in their immediate circle, has been strategically, intentionally feeding them highly toxic falsehoods. This meddling individual has been actively twisting your beautiful image, constantly highlighting your insecurities, aggressively poisoning the pure, sacred well of love that you both once drank from so freely. They disguise the cruel manipulation as concern and protection, but in reality, it was deeply rooted in their own bitter, unhealed jealousy and the desperate, selfish need to control your person's life. And yet, despite the overwhelming volume of that poisonous manipulation, your person still fiercely remembers the absolute truth of your soul. They still have incredibly vivid, agonizing dreams about your face. They still vividly imagine the exact, soothing sound of your voice calling their name when the house is entirely quiet. My beautiful, resilient child, do not give in to despair right now. Do not let the enemy convince you that your pure love was a complete waste of time. God will intimately be with you through this final stretch of the waiting period. Rest in the absolute, concrete assurance that even when you feel entirely unseen by the world, entirely forgotten by the person you love, the fiery, all-knowing eyes of the Most High are locked directly onto you. They have been intimately watching you from the exact moment you were intricately formed in the womb. And in the terrifying stillness of the midnight hour, when your pillow is heavily soaked with the desperate, agonizing prayers that you don't even have the physical strength to say out loud anymore, heaven hears the silent language of your tears. You are absolutely not crying in vain. Every single gut-wrenching sob, every broken whisper, every heavy, suffocating wave of longing, God meticulously gathers them and permanently stores them in the sacred jar of heavenly remembrance. And when the perfect, ordained time finally arrives, and it is rapidly, undeniably approaching your doorstep right now, those bitter, agonizing tears will be miraculously transformed into the most overwhelming, joyful rejoicing your soul has ever experienced. Right now, at this exact moment in time, that specific person you love is thinking of you with a heavy, agonizing regret. Even as your eyes scan these very words, their soul is incredibly restless, pacing back and forth in the spiritual realm. They are absolutely not at peace with their terrible decision. They are desperately, frantically looking for a safe, open path to find their way back to your heart, but they are absolutely paralyzed by a suffocating, terrifying fear. They are deeply afraid that entirely too much time has passed for you to ever forgive them. They are terrified that you have finally realized your immense worth and permanently moved on to someone who actually knows how to treat you right. They are afraid that their prolonged, cowardly silence has violently broken something inside of you that is fundamentally unrepairable. But what they do not understand, and what heaven is about to fiercely remind them of, is that true, God-ordained love is absolutely never fully, permanently broken. It may deeply bend under the heavy weight of trauma. It may run away and hide in the dark shadows of fear. It may fall into a deep, exhausting sleep when it is entirely starved of affection. But it absolutely never, ever dies. Not when it is truly, divinely real. And the powerful, unbreakable connection you shared with them was undeniably, magnificently real. There is something else you absolutely must know before the sun rises tomorrow, a profound spiritual occurrence that happened just hours ago. That specific person had a dream last night. It was not a normal, fading dream, but an incredibly vivid, spiritually charged visitation. In that heavy, cinematic dream, they saw you standing in the distance, radiating the exact warm, beautiful light they had foolishly walked away from. They desperately reached their trembling hands out to grab you, to finally pull you back into their chest and apologize for everything they had done. But the very second their fingers brushed against yours, you completely disappeared into thin air. They violently jolted awake, covered in a freezing cold sweat, crying hysterically. Their chest was incredibly tight, feeling like it was being crushed by a boulder, and their breath was shallow and short. They tightly clutched their empty hands together and repeatedly whispered your name into the suffocating darkness of their room. In that exact, terrifying moment of awakening, they physically felt your agonizing absence like the permanent, phantom ache of a missing limb. And in that moment of absolute, undeniable clarity, they finally knew the terrifying truth. They knew, without a single shadow of a doubt, that the controlling, manipulative family who had successfully forced them to erase your physical presence from their daily life had absolutely, entirely failed to erase you from their soul. And that powerful, undeniable realization is the exact catalyst that is actively causing their entire false reality to violently unravel. Causing their entire false reality to violently unravel right before their very eyes. The absolute truth is physically unfolding in the spiritual realm right now. The meticulously constructed lies that have kept you apart are rapidly unraveling like a cheap, frayed sweater. The heavy, toxic manipulation that previously held their mind completely captive in a dark prison of doubt is violently breaking apart under the sheer, blinding weight of heaven's light. You may not physically see it happening yet in the natural world, but I promise you with the authority of the divine, it is happening with terrifying, unstoppable speed. In the unseen realm, heavy iron chains of deception are loudly falling to the ground. Thick, blinding scales are miraculously lifting from their previously deceived eyes, and the monumental moment of absolute, undeniable clarity is rapidly drawing near. You must deeply understand exactly what has been happening behind the scenes of your heartbreak. There is a suffocating silence in this person's life that has officially grown entirely too loud for them to bear. And that agonizing silence is practically screaming your beautiful name at the stroke of midnight. They desperately want to pick up the phone and call you. They desperately want to come running back to your safe harbor, completely out of breath, begging for your forgiveness. But there are specific, toxic voices in their immediate life, 3 distinct voices, to be exact, who have been relentlessly whispering malicious, calculated lies directly into their ears, actively trying to convince them that you are nothing more than a dangerous, chaotic detour on their path to happiness. And God says to you today, one of those loud, interfering voices belongs specifically to someone who smiled warmly in your face and expertly pretended to like you the very first time they met you. Someone incredibly close to your person, someone they foolishly thought they could blindly trust with their most vulnerable emotions, actively sat them down and told them a completely twisted, unrecognizable version of your beautiful story. This manipulative individual took the pure, innocent facts of your life, aggressively edited them, maliciously poisoned them again for good measure, and then served them ice cold on a silver platter to a fragile heart that was already deeply struggling to believe that true, lasting love could actually exist. They said cruel, horrific things about your character that were absolutely never true. They painted your glowing, radiant soul with a severely broken, dark brush. They violently gave your innocent past a completely new, shameful name, a name that absolutely does not belong to you and never will. And because of this relentless, targeted psychological manipulation, the very person who once looked deeply into your eyes and saw a beautiful, permanent forever actually started to wonder if they had simply imagined the entire profound connection. But deep, deep down in the core of their spirit, Something massive and immovable absolutely refused to let you go. You critically need to understand this profound spiritual truth today. Absolutely not everyone in your life, or their life, is genuinely rooting for your love to succeed. Not everyone is actually excited about your incoming generational blessings. Some deeply insecure, miserable people have quietly watched you grow, glow, and steadily climb out of your trauma. And instead of clapping for your beautiful survival, they started violently cursing your name under their breath. They did not do it openly. They did not do it loudly. They did it with incredibly subtle, cowardly shifts in their behavior. A raised eyebrow when your name was mentioned, a strategically delayed reply to a message, a fake, backhanded compliment perfectly designed to plant a tiny seed of doubt. Some of these individuals even looked you dead in the eyes and said, "I am so happy for you," while their dark, envious hearts silently and desperately wished for your catastrophic fall. And now that something incredibly sacred, divinely ordained, and utterly beautiful is loudly knocking on your door, they are frantically scrambling in the dark, using every manipulative tactic they possess to violently slam that door shut. There is specifically a woman in their circle who absolutely knows entirely too much about your private connection. She was never, ever meant to be this intimately involved in your sacred bond. She accidentally overheard a private, vulnerable conversation that she was absolutely never supposed to hear. And instead of respectfully staying out of it and minding her own business, she aggressively meddled. She maliciously twisted every single word she heard. She strategically added crippling fear where there was once beautiful, blossoming faith. She intentionally added suffocating doubt where there was once crystal clear destiny. And right now, she is actively planting toxic, parasitic thoughts in the mind of the person you love. Thoughts that are aggressively making them question absolutely everything they ever felt when they were wrapped in your safe embrace. God says to your spirit today, this is exactly why things have felt so incredibly strange and unsettling to you lately. This is exactly why you have been feeling so physically and emotionally off for the past few weeks, waking up with a racing heart and a heavy knot of anxiety in your stomach. This is exactly why you have suddenly sensed a massive, cold shift in the spiritual atmosphere around you, even if absolutely no one has spoken a single word to you about it in the physical realm. Your brilliant, divinely connected soul inherently knows that something is terribly wrong. Your awakened spirit has been desperately sounding the alarm, trying to warn you of the unseen danger. And now, heaven is directly sending you this prophetic message because the Almighty God absolutely demands that you must not stay blind, confused, and anxious while these cowardly individuals actively plot against your happiness in the dark. You must forcefully rise in your spiritual discernment today. You must stay entirely grounded in the absolute truth of who you are, because something incredibly precious, incredibly rare, and entirely irreplaceable is currently at stake: your God-given future. But before the icy fingers of fear can even attempt to creep into your beautiful mind, I need you to hear this divine decree and engrave it upon your heart. You are absolutely not alone in this fight. You are not forgotten by the heavens. You are absolutely not losing the magnificent, breathtaking love story that God Himself has meticulously written for your life. No amount of calculated lies, no level of demonic manipulation, no painful rejection, no heartbreaking betrayal, and absolutely no temporary delay will ever be allowed to permanently steal what is divinely meant for your life. But you must be completely still right now. You must be still and know that He is God. Still in your racing, anxious spirit, still in your overthinking mind, and perfectly still in your unwavering faith. Because the broken, terrified person who knelt on the floor and wept for you last night is actually infinitely closer to a massive, life-altering breakthrough than they even begin to realize. Their agonizing, midnight tears were absolutely not a sign of emotional weakness. They were a desperate, powerful whisper directly to the throne room of heaven. They violently sobbed your name while they cried. They looked up at the ceiling and brokenly whispered, "God, if I am truly wrong about them, please show me right now." But if my heart is right, if they are exactly who I think they are, then please, I beg you, give me the strength to fiercely fight for them. They are currently fighting a brutal, bloody, exhausting war inside their own mind that they simply cannot speak of to anyone else, because the very people they love and trust the most are the exact same people actively pulling them away from your light. It is a trusted family member, a respected elder, someone they have blindly looked up to and trusted for their entire life. And right now, their deep, ingrained loyalty to their toxic history is violently battling their desperate, undeniable hope for a beautiful future with you. Their lifelong history is fiercely fighting their newborn hope. They desperately want to reach out to you. They almost did it yesterday. They literally typed out a message to you, their fingers trembling over the send button. But the suffocating, heavy weight of the manipulating voices around them aggressively pushed their hand away from the glowing phone screen. They silently opened the hidden picture they have of you exactly 3 times last night. They just sat there in the dark, staring intensely at your face, and they said absolutely nothing out loud, but their shattered hearts screamed absolutely everything. That agonizing, silent scream instantly reached the attentive ears of warrior angels. That scream echoed loudly through the golden halls of heaven. That specific scream was the exact catalyst that led to this very message arriving directly before your eyes right now. God says that something massive, something entirely unprecedented, is about to drastically shift in your favor. But it will absolutely not happen the way the enemy arrogantly expects it to, because the very person who maliciously tried to turn your beloved against you is about to be spectacularly, humiliatingly exposed by the hand of God himself. A cruel, manipulative text message that they sent in absolute secret, thinking they would never be caught, is going to miraculously come into the blinding light. A toxic, backstabbing conversation that they had behind closed doors is going to be accidentally overheard by the absolute wrong person at the exact right time. And suddenly, like a violently shattered mirror, the one you love so deeply will finally begin to see, to truly, clearly, and undeniably see, exactly who has been aggressively manipulating their path and poisoning their mind. In that breathtaking moment of divine revelation, the heavy fog will permanently lift. They will instantly remember the profound, overflowing ocean of your kindness. They will vividly remember your unmatched, enduring patience. They will remember the beautiful, grounding way your eyes absolutely never lied to them, and the incredible, safe way your words never, ever changed depending on who else was standing in the room. They will painfully remember exactly how you stubbornly stayed by their side and fought for them when it would have been infinitely easier for you to simply walk away and save yourself. And as the toxic house of cards violently collapses around them, they will finally realize, with a heavy, breaking heart, that absolutely no other voice in their entire life has ever fought for their true happiness like yours has, even when you were forced to do it in complete and utter silence. Even when you were forced to do it in complete and utter silence. There is something else, something incredibly massive that you absolutely need to know right now. A profound, life-altering decision is actively being made behind your back at this very millisecond, and it has absolutely everything to do with the spectacular future God has written for you. Someone in their toxic circle is currently making desperate, frantic plans to completely walk away and erase you forever. But those malicious plans are entirely built on sinking, false foundations. And God, in his infinite, protective wrath, will absolutely not let them stand. The fragile house of cards they are aggressively trying to build without you is going to violently collapse into dust before the roof is even placed. The calculated, deliberate steps they're taking to permanently erase your memory from this person's mind will miraculously turn into endless, exhausting circles of confusion, precisely because they are not obeying the divine laws of love. They are blindly obeying the suffocating laws of fear, and fear will always, inevitably lead to a dark, endless wandering. But love, true, God-ordained love, always leads directly back to the absolute truth. And the blinding, beautiful truth is that the person you love has literally never stopped loving you. Not for a single, fleeting second. They just got incredibly, paralyzingly scared of the fierce spiritual warfare that surrounded your connection. But wait, there is even more to this divine revelation. Your sacred name was spoken just yesterday in a crowded, noisy room full of ignorant people who do not truly know the breathtaking depths of your pure heart. And someone in that room, yes, someone who barely even knows your true character, said something incredibly cruel, entirely unfounded, and deeply malicious about you. They desperately tried to laugh at your expense. They arrogantly tried to mock your unwavering loyalty and your gentle spirit. But listen to me very carefully. There was one specific person in that room who instantly felt a massive, crushing wave of divine conviction hit their chest. They felt physically sick to their stomach for allowing that laughter to happen. And God says, they are going to come to you very quietly, very soon, with their head bowed in absolute shame. They will look you in the eyes and brokenly whisper, I didn't stand up for you when I absolutely should have. But I promise you, I will never let them disrespect you again. My child, this is absolutely not a time for you to break down. It is not a time to surrender to the heavy exhaustion in your bones. It is a time to be incredibly, fiercely bold in your spirit, to pray without a single tremor of doubt, and to believe without blinking. Because the magnificent, breathtaking restoration of your life is already physically unfolding. Even if your tired human eyes cannot clearly see it through the thick fog yet, they are coming back to you. But I need you to understand that they are absolutely not returning as the same broken, easily manipulated, terrified person they were when they walked away. God has been breaking them down in the wilderness. They are coming back to you with the absolute, unvarnished truth held tightly in their trembling hands, and a profound, tear-soaked apology resting heavily on their lips, because they have finally, undeniably seen exactly who the real, terrifying enemy was, and they know with absolute certainty that it wasn't you. Keep your beautiful heart incredibly soft right now, even when the searing pain makes you want to turn to stone. Do not, under any circumstances, let the poisonous weed of bitterness plant its dark roots in your pristine spirit. Do not let the burning fire of anger steal another night of your precious sleep. Let your agonizing tears miraculously become your most powerful prayers. Let your suffocating loneliness become your ultimate spiritual preparation. Let your agonizing season of waiting become your highest form of worship to the Creator. Because someone is actively, bravely walking away from the loud, toxic crowd to find their way back to your quiet, safe harbor. And when they finally arrive, they will come with a trembling voice, tears streaming down their face, saying, I should have fought 1,000,000 times harder for you from the very beginning. But I am finally here now, and I swear to you, I will absolutely never let them steal us away from each other again. There is a massive, unprecedented divine reversal rapidly coming to your life. What the enemy maliciously meant for your ultimate shame and public humiliation, God is going to violently flip to bring you unprecedented, breathtaking honor. What those toxic individuals desperately tried to destroy with their vicious lies will be miraculously restored to you sevenfold by the hands of angels. The cruel, sharp words they used in an attempt to completely destroy your good name will now become the undeniable, physical proof of your magnificent endurance, because you bravely survived the lie. You outlasted the intense psychological manipulation. You stubbornly stayed entirely true to the pure frequency of love, even when absolutely everyone else around you was using the dark frequency of fear. And heaven clearly sees that a new, massive, golden door is actively opening for you. It is absolutely not the door you originally expected to walk through, but it is an infinitely better one. It is a profoundly deeper one. It is a door that brings absolute, permanent healing to both of your shattered souls. It is a door that simply cannot be slammed shut by jealous, meddling hands or bitter, lying mouths. It is a door that only heaven holds the master key to, and God is handing that key directly to you. This specific door is not loud. It is not chaotic. It is incredibly quiet, peaceful, and entirely sacred. And those who are lucky enough to find it are strictly those who actively choose unconditional love over their own fragile pride. You are one of the very few souls on this earth who fits that description. That is exactly why this specific, powerful message found its way to your screen today. You are one of the incredibly rare few who stubbornly continues to love deeply, passionately, and purely, even after being brutally betrayed by the ones you trusted most. You are one of the few who still fiercely believes in the absolute goodness of people, even after being cruelly ghosted and abandoned without a single word of closure. You are one of the few who still falls to your knees and sincerely prays for the protection and healing of the very people who never even bothered to say thank you for your sacrifices. And I promise you, heaven has meticulously recorded every single one of those pure moments. Heaven has permanently remembered your unyielding grace. But God says there is someone else you absolutely must forgive before this massive blessing can fully land in your hands. You must not just forgive the person who walked away, but you must completely, unconditionally forgive the toxic person who never even said sorry. You must forgive the specific, meddling individual who intentionally cost you your peace. The one who cowardly spoke lies behind your back while flashing a fake, warm smile to your face. I know it is not easy. I know your flesh wants justice. But you absolutely must release that heavy, dark energy right now, because the breathtaking, golden future waiting for you is entirely too heavy, too pure, and too magnificent to be carried by hands that are still tightly gripping old, bleeding wounds. Let it go, not because they were ever right in what they did, but because your beautiful soul desperately needs to be completely free. Your next, approaching season is incredibly sacred. It is holy ground. And you must accept the hard truth that absolutely not everyone can come with you into this new chapter. God is actively, silently removing certain people from your immediate orbit right now to protect your incoming blessing. Do not chase them when they leave. Do not beg them to stay. Do not waste your precious energy asking them why they changed. Simply let them go. Their specific, painful assignment in your life has officially expired. And those who are truly, divinely meant to return to you, they absolutely will. Not because you forced them to, not because you manipulated the situation, but because absolute truth always, inevitably returns to its pure source. This prophetic message is your final, undeniable confirmation. This message is the direct, physical answer to exactly what you cried about so desperately last night. This message is the gentle, divine whisper that proves your aching soul was not lying to you all this time. You are not crazy. You are not imagining the spiritual warfare. They really did try their absolute hardest to completely ruin what was divinely meant for you. But they spectacularly, entirely failed. They failed because you were handpicked and chosen by the Most High. They failed because heaven has completely surrounded your life with an impenetrable army of warrior angels. They failed because your name is permanently, deeply written on the very palms of God's hands. They failed because your magnificent purpose is sealed with a holy, consuming fire that absolutely no mortal man or demonic force can ever quench. My beloved child, please wipe your tears. It is almost over. The agonizing, deafening silence is about to violently break. The absolute, blinding truth is about to rise like the morning sun. The prodigal is actively packing their bags to return to your heart. And when they finally arrive at your door, completely stripped of their pride and full of remorse, you will be faced with two distinct choices. You can angrily close your heart to protect yourself, or you can bravely open your arms and receive the restoration. God is urging you, choose love, even if your voice physically shakes when you speak to them. Choose love, even if your heart briefly remembers the break, because in the end, true, divine love absolutely always wins. Just wait a little bit longer. Just hold on for one more moment. Something so incredibly massive, so breathtakingly beautiful that you never even expected it, is rapidly coming your way. And it carries absolutely everything you ever prayed for. It carries everything you cried for in the dark. It carries everything you desperately hoped they would say to you but never had the courage to. They are about to say it all. Just watch what God is about to do. Heaven is absolutely not done writing your story. In fact, heaven is just getting started with your greatest chapter. And what is coming next will permanently make every single agonizing tear, every lonely, freezing night, every cruel, unanswered question, every completely ignored message, every silent, painful birthday, and every single ache in your chest entirely worth it. Heaven saw absolutely all of it. This is your divinely appointed time. And absolutely no voice of any mortal man, no toxic family member, and no jealous friend can ever stop what God has already permanently written in the stars for your destiny. They are coming back, and they're coming back heavily armed with the absolute, undeniable truth. You must be ready. The long, exhausting season of weeping is officially ending today. The beautiful, tearful, joyous reunion is incredibly near. Just wait with a peaceful heart. Just completely trust the divine timing of the universe. Just unconditionally believe in the power of the love you gave. Because someone you love so incredibly deeply physically knelt down and violently cried for you last night in the dark, and heaven heard absolutely every single one of those tears. If you believe in this divine prophecy, if you are fully ready to release your pain and step into your ultimate season of restoration and breathtaking love, type Amen right now to claim this as your permanent reality.